The storm on Kepler 442b had been raging for 6 days when Alara Wynn's scanner detected the anomaly. Deep beneath the abandoned colony ruins, something was moving. Something alive. She shouldn't have been there. The evacuation order had been clear. All human personnel were to abandon the mining outpost immediately. But Alara had never been good at following orders, especially when they meant leaving mysteries unsolved. As a xenoarchaeologist, she'd spent her entire career chasing the ghosts of civilizations that had turned to dust long before humanity ever looked up at the stars. The tunnel entrance was half submerged in acidic runoff, the kind that could eat through standard-issue boots in under an hour. Alara sealed her environmental suit and descended into the darkness, her headlamp cutting through the murky water like a knife through smoke. That's when she saw him. The creature was massive, easily 3 meters tall even in his collapsed state. His fur, once silver she guessed, was matted and gray with age. He resembled a wolf, if wolves had been stretched by some cosmic hand and given 6 legs and eyes that glowed with a dim, fading amber light. Those eyes fixed on her as she approached, and despite his obvious weakness, there was no fear in them. Only an ancient, bone-deep exhaustion. "Stay back," he rasped in a language Alara's translator struggled to process. "The seal must hold." She froze. After 3 decades of studying dead civilizations, she'd finally found a living witness. "Who are you? What are you guarding?" The alien wolf, Varrox, he would later tell her his name was, let out a sound that might have been a laugh or a death rattle. "I am the last of the sentinels, the last who remembers what sleeps below." Alara's scanner was going wild. The readings made no sense. The tunnel didn't just go down, it went down, kilometers into the planet's crust, to depths that should have been molten rock. And at the bottom, her instruments detected something that defied classification. Something that generated its own gravity well. "How long have you been here?" she asked, though part of her already knew the answer. 3,000 of your years, human. Give or take a century. Time becomes difficult when you stand watch alone. 3,000 years. The number hit Alara like a physical blow. Humanity had barely been building pyramids when this creature had taken his post. Why? What could possibly be worth 3,000 years? Varrox's eyes dimmed further, and for a moment Alara thought he might finally succumb to whatever was killing him. Then he spoke, and his words carried the weight of millennia. "Because of what your kind did. Because of what you are." The story came out in fragments, each word seeming to cost him more than the last. Varrox's people, the Ethereal Collective, had been the dominant force in this sector of space. They had been engineers, artists, philosophers. They had built wonders that made human technology look like stone tools. They had been peaceful, enlightened, content in their mastery of the physical universe. Then they had encountered humanity. Not modern humanity, not the spacefaring civilization that Alara belonged to. No, this had been far earlier, during what Varrox called the First Expansion, a time when humans were still primitive by galactic standards, still learning to navigate between stars. "We thought you were simple," Varrox said. "We thought you were weak. We thought we could study you, learn from you, perhaps uplift you to our level." His lips pulled back, revealing teeth that could have torn through titanium. "We were fools." The Ethereal Collective had underestimated humanity's single most defining characteristic: adaptability married to absolute, terrifying persistence. When the Ethereal had tried to guide human development, humanity had resisted. When the Ethereal had tried to contain them, humanity had broken free. And when the Ethereal had finally, desperately tried to eliminate the human problem before it could spread, humanity had gone to war. Your ancestors were like nothing we'd ever seen, Varrox continued. Other species fought for territory, for resources, for survival. You fought for the idea of freedom. You fought battles you couldn't win. You died in numbers that should have broken your spirit. But you never stopped. You never surrendered. You adapted to every weapon we used, learned from every defeat, and came back stronger every single time. The war had lasted 200 years. In the end, the Ethereal Collective had fallen, their civilization shattered not by superior technology, but by an enemy who simply refused to quit. The survivors had fled to the far edges of known space, but before they left, they had planted a failsafe. Varrox gestured weakly toward the flooded tunnel behind him. Down there in stasis, we left a gift, a weapon, the sum total of our knowledge, our technology, our understanding of the universe. Everything we were, compressed into a single device. It was meant as a final lesson, to show you that even in defeat, we were still superior. A weapon. Ilara's blood ran cold. What kind of weapon? The kind that could crack planets like eggs. The kind that could reshape reality itself. The kind that, in the wrong hands, could end not just humanity, but all life in this galaxy. Varrox's eyes locked onto hers. That is why I guard it. Why I have stood watch for 3 millennia. Because I realized the truth too late. What truth? That the only thing more dangerous than giving humans such a weapon would be proving that we thought they needed it, that we thought they couldn't be trusted with power. Your kind. He coughed, and Ilara saw the light in his eyes flickering like a dying star. You fight hardest when someone tells you that you can't. You achieve the impossible when faced with limitations. If even one human discovered this weapon, if word spread that another species had tried to lock away knowledge from you, Ilara understood. Humanity would stop at nothing to claim it, not out of malice, but out of that same defiant spirit that had defeated an empire, the same spirit that had brought them to the stars despite every obstacle, every setback, every loss. So you stayed, she whispered. You stayed to protect us from ourselves. I stayed to atone. Varrox's breathing was shallow now. I stayed because someone had to believe that humanity could be better than we feared. That given time, given the chance to grow without this temptation, you might prove that our final judgment was wrong. The alien wolf's eyes were barely glowing now. Ilara knew she was watching the last moments of a dying species. What do you want me to do? The seal holds for now. The water, the radiation from your mining operations, it has contaminated the access routes, made them impassable even for you. A weak smile crossed Varrox's muzzle. Ironic, isn't it? Humanity's carelessness has accomplished what I could not. The weapon is lost, perhaps forever, perhaps long enough. Long enough for what? For you to become the species I hope you can be. The species that doesn't need such weapons. The species that chooses not to use them even when they could. Varrox's eyes closed. Leave this place, Ilara Wynn. Forget what you found here. Let this be my final secret, my final act of faith in humanity. Ilara stood there for a long moment, scanner still beeping, showing her the way down to power beyond imagination. Then she switched it off. Thank you, she said softly, for believing in us. When she returned to the surface 3 hours later, she filed her report. Tunnel system collapsed. No salvageable materials recommend site be permanently sealed. Nobody questioned it. Nobody dug deeper. And in the flooded darkness below, the last sentinel finally allowed himself to rest. His 3,000-year vigil complete, his faith in humanity's future, the last gift of a fallen civilization.